Hey guys, Glad here to bring you guys another build guide. Today we're going to be talking about my axe dagger condi build. I know you guys have been wanting a build guide for this, so I'm trying to get it done. Been working on it here and there. So here it is, guys. First off, I've made a few changes since the V1. I've changed runes of the undead to Superior Rune of Grinth for chill. And I've changed the Sigil of Bursting out for Superior Sigil of Ice for additional chill uptime to keep my opponent from using key skills and keep him closer to me and unable to kind of get away. Also, the toughness and condition loss was negligible. There was really no difference at all that I noticed. And to start off the build guide, guys, we're gonna go ahead and look at the armor. For the armor, we're gonna go ahead and run full dire. My dire gear is ascended, so your stats may vary. We're gonna be running Rune of Grinth. You could run undead, as I said earlier. It is up to you, but I run Grinth now. For trinkets, we're gonna run dire. Ascended trinkets, we don't have ones that are strictly just dire, like exotic trinkets. So they'll be pretty much dire / rabid. And you see how they all have a little bit of precision on them. So it's no big deal. It still works just like regular dire stuff, and it'll do the job. Moving on into weapons, we're gonna have dire weapons again for both weapon sets. And for sigils, we're going to run Sigil of Corruption on the axe, with Sigil of Ice on the dagger, Geomancy on the sword, and Malice on the torch. As for the utilities that I run the Troll heal. It's just the best heal for this build. It's what works the best, in my opinion, for this build. And I just won't use any other heal besides this one now. As for the first utility on my bar, I run Sharpening Stones to provide additional bleeding and condi clear. I also run Lightning Reflexes to kind of get that extra evade, you know, that stun break, and additional condi clear as well. The 13 seconds of vigor that this utility provides is amazing. I cannot stress how much 13 seconds of 100% endurance regeneration is, especially when some of the other traits that we'll talk about later come into play. Signet of Renewal, guys, is what I usually run for this build. It provides an instant condi dump for, let's say you get hit with Signet of Spite. Like, it's just, all those condis can be instantly cleared up, one click of a button. It's just really good for a massive condi clear. So I recommend running it. You can run other things, but I mean, you won't get the benefits of running Signet of Renewal if you do that. I run Entangle as my elite, just for the additional condi clear, 48-second cooldown, the extra bleeding it gives me, and the immobilize. It is very, very good in team fights and solo fights and just 1vx. It is really good. You can use Rampage as one, but I normally don't have an issue with getting stunned or needing that much stability. unless you're fighting like, 5 warriors with hammer or something. But normally I don't need that much stability, so I run entangle. For infusions, I just run the World v World infusions because they're cheap, they get the job done. And I mean, you can get your condiV ones, you can get your vitality ones, and that's all I use. I have my condiV ones and I have my vital ones. Vitality in all the armor, and then you just mix it throughout the trinkets. As for food, I run quality tuning crystals and koi cake. That's just what I use. You may choose to use something else. That's what I use because it works the best for me. Moving on to the traits. I run a spread of 2066. Starting out, we have Keen Edge and Marksmanship. When your opponent reaches 75% HP, you will get 5 extra sharpening stones and remove 2 condis. So not only does it provide you with additional bleeds, it also removes condis, saving you a condi clear that you might need later on in the fight. Moving on to Wilderness Survival, you have Wilderness Knowledge, which gives your utilities 20% cooldown reduction on survival skills, which makes sharpening stones, lightning reflexes, and your entangle, and even Keen Edge go that much quicker. Like, you take it off, that moves up to a 45. I mean, so it brings the build together for me. I mean, it gives you that much chances to use your skills and to kind of clear additional condis and just get as many bleeds off as you can. Then you have your Oakheart Salve, which you'll gain regeneration when you suffer from bleeding, poison, or burning. Which helps against good condi-based classes and classes who may not be condi but apply them passively through some of their skills and attacks. Next up is Empathetic Bond, which, as I've said in my other build guide, keeping your pet alive is very important to both of my builds, or really all of my builds. It's not always gonna happen. You're not always gonna be able to keep your pet alive, but keeping it alive as long as you can will provide you with additional condi clear and just extra setups that you can do with your pet to make this build work. Empathetic Bond is going to take 3 conditions every 10 seconds, and it's going to transfer them to your pet. Coupled with Signet of Renewal, it's 4 condis every 10 seconds, which just makes it really, really powerful against condi classes. It's like having condis disappear, after 10 seconds is very, very nice if you don't have any, like, condi clears up. Now, moving on into the next tree, which is Nature's Magic, or Nature Magic. Moving on into Nature Magic, starting with Nature's Bounty to increase regeneration you apply by 33%. This makes Oakheart Salve last 33% longer, giving you additional healing and just kind of keeping that up. I mean, it's only on a 15-second recharge, about 8 seconds of regen, so Every 15 seconds, you get about 8 seconds of regen if you're fighting a class that just keeps putting one of those conditions on you, which makes it really, really strong. Okay, next we have Evasive Purity in the line in Nature Magic, which removes poison and blind on dodge roll. Does have a 10-second internal cooldown, but it helps with keeping poison and blind off of you during fights to allow your regen to kind of be more effective. And I don't think there's really any time where I've had to worry about poison, because most classes, they have a couple ways to put poison on. A lot of classes now are using sigils to swap and then, you know, do one poison, and you just dodge roll and take it off, and there goes their effectiveness. And it also keeps you from having to use one of your condiV clears. You can kind of keep it, have it, so you can use it later on in the fight. Next, we have Survival of the Fittest, which makes your survival skills pretty beast. Not gonna lie. For every survival skill you use, you remove 2 condis and gain 7 seconds of fury. Which the fury doesn't really matter a whole lot with this build. It's just the conditions removed that I like to focus on. And having that additional condiV clear is very, very good. It helps me a lot when fighting other condiV builds, condiV engineers, condiV necros, condiV thieves. It helps a whole lot. Coupled with Empathetic Bond and Signet of Renewal, I mean, you really don't have to worry about condis that much. It's people put condis on you, it's like they're gone. Okay, so now that we've got the traits out of the way, guys, let's jump into some World v World gameplay to kind of go over how the traits and weapons come into play. Okay, guys, to start off, this build is a very aggressive, short-range build. You will do most of your damage while in your opponent's face. That being said, you do have a lot of damage mitigation through regen and dodges, as they give you protection, and evades on dagger number 4, sword 3 and 2, which you can use to dodge key attacks. One of the main ways I use sword number 2 is to jump out of the way of attacks, be it away from my opponent, to kind of give me a breather, think about how I'll approach the opponent and kind of continue my attack. As for the way I use sharpening stones, most of the time I'll hit sharpening stones and try to hit him with axe 2. Most of the time I try to create an opening before I go into sharpening stones and use split blade, be it with the pet, the knockdown, the fear, or an entangle. And just that split blade sharpening stone combo, I mean, you're looking at 10 stacks of bleed in one hit. It is a devastating hit. I can hit somebody with that and they're instantly, you know, in fear because it's doing so much damage to them. They'll either panic and hit condiV clears, or if they don't have any condiV clears, it'll do so much damage to them that they're literally out of the fight before it even started. Following up, you got the chill on axe 3, which provides you a lot of benefits, from making your opponent's cooldowns last longer to making him slower so you can catch him, do some of your more devastating condis on him. You can also provide chilling through the healing skill, because if you run Runes of Grinth, as you heal, you'll kind of send out an AoE chill blast, and randomly by hitting opponents due to the Sigil of Ice. Next we have dagger, where we have poison, cripple, and bleeds. Poison is a very strong condition, not in the sense that it does a lot of damage, in the sense where it provides you with additional condi to cushion bleed and some of your more devastating condis. From condi clear, it also reduces the effective healing of an opponent. On the other weapon set, we have burning with the torch, poison on the sword. Burning is a very powerful condition, causing a lot of damage to opponents. You will want to land hits with the torch as much as possible, being torch throw or bonfire. Most of the time when I'm using bonfire, I'll kind of use it near an opponent and stand in it, making my opponent come to me and stand in the fire field with me, causing massive damage. He'll literally melt inside of the field. I mean, people do it a lot. It's crazy how many people will be so focused on attacking you and not worry about the fire field that they're standing in. So even if you miss torch throw, be mindful of bonfire, as it can cause considerable damage to your opponent, and it can be used very effectively, either through jumping through it or standing in it, as I mentioned. This build, guys, really rewards people who can set up attacks, be it with the pet, through fear or knockdowns, or entangle. Getting all condis off in one go on your opponent is very punishing. It can, in most cases, in most fights, cause your opponent to just, you know, be incapacitated before the fight even starts. Like, I don't know how many times I've entangled somebody and hit them with all the condis that I have, and they've just dropped to the ground. It happens a lot, and just being able to set that up is one of the main points of this build. If you work on setting up your opponent with this build, you should not have any trouble killing 90% of the builds in this game. It's very easy to do when you get more accustomed to using this build and setting people up with, you know, be it your pet, like I said, entangle, or any of the knockdowns. It will just do the job that much easier. That being said, guys, I really have nothing else to really say about the build. I mean, I pretty much went over everything as far as how I use it and what I try to do. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the build. I had a lot of fun working on it and a lot of time to make the build. So, I just hope you guys like it. Thanks for watching.